It is a matter of happiness and satisfaction that the Jan Sarovar is doing a wonderful service which the Indian Parliament cannot do. From the year 2020 onwards, Jan Sarovar is organizing Janata Parliament, the People's Parliament, and are discussing issues, debates, which is not taking place in the Parliament. The lawmakers in the Indian Parliament today are not allowed to discuss on people's issues, on the problems of the masses of this country, on the issue of farmers, on the issue of national security, on the issue of defense preparedness, on the issue of labor codes. All these issues, the lawmakers, the parliament members are prohibited from discussing in the parliament. And what we have witnessed of late in the parliament during the monsoon session is innumerable number of bills have been passed in the parliament without any discussion, without giving opportunity to the members of the parliament who represent the people from different parties to place their views, to place their opinions, and to listen to their amendments, whatever they are proposing, which is the basic and fundamental duty of a parliament in democracy. Unfortunately, that is not happening. In spite of protest by the members of the parliament, many bills are passed when the house is not in order. I am not going into the details of all those bills, since I am confining myself to one draconian act, namely Essential Defense Services Act 2021, passed in the Lok Sabha and in the Rajya Sabha within a span of just 7 minutes. What is so urgency for the government to pass this particular act in the parliament without even listening to the views or the amendments proposed by the parliamentarians before passing this bill? In any case, the government has got majority in both the houses. Then why they are afraid? Why they are going back from a debate or a discussion? This is a question the People's Parliament has to discuss. You have got majority. You can pass the bill. Absolutely no problem. Because you claim that you are a democratically elected government, so you have got every right to pass the bill. But since you are having the majority, then why are you not having the confidence to allow the opposition MPs to place their views? But that is not happening. And why this Essential Defense Services Act and before the Act, why the Essential Defense Services Ordinance 2021 has been promulgated by the President of India? The reason is very simple. The government claims, the Honorable Defense Minister says, it is nothing to do with the agitation of the employees of ordnance factories. It is only to safeguard the security of our country. And this is something ridiculous, because on the 16th of June, the cabinet, in violation of all the previous assurances and agreements with the federations, the 220 years old 41 Indian ordnance factories has been converted into 7 corporations, 7 non-viable corporations, 7 companies. Ordnance factories are not basically commercial units. Ordnance factories are meant for producing defense equipments required for the armed forces of our country. And it has done wonderful service. In fact, after the independence, after 1947, whatever war the country has fought, all those wars were fought by the armed forces only with the arms, ammunition, weapon, troop comfort items manufactured by Indian ordnance factories. It may be Bangladesh Liberation War, it may be the Kargil crisis, or it may be the Indo-Pakistan War. In all these wars, the Indian ordnance factory, as the fourth force of the defense of our country, is doing excellent job. When that is the situation, why the government of India want to destroy this 220 years, in fact the oldest industry in our country? In the past 20 years, attempts were made by the government through various committees to convert the ordnance factories into a corporation. And as all of us know, corporatization is the first step for privatization. And the government intention of converting the ordnance factories into a corporation is nothing but either to sell out, or to close, or to privatize. This is the only intention of the government. But in the past, 5 defense ministers, including the late Manohar Parrikar, Sri A.K. Antony, late Pranab Mukherjee, late Jaswant Singh, late George Fernandes, all these ministers have given written assurance and written commitment to the trade unions of the defense employees, to the federations, including All India Defense Employees Federation, that ordnance factories will not be corporatized. Even before the Parliamentary Standing Committee, so many times the Defence Ministry has given commitment that ordnance factories cannot be corporatized because it cannot survive as a commercial organization. But unfortunately, the present government brought this in the 100 days agenda, and last year when the entire country was on COVID-19 lockdown, ordnance factories were not in lockdown. The country was struggling for personal protective equipments. There was an acute shortage of even masks, coveralls, sanitizers, ventilators. All these things were in acute shortage, and all the private industries closed their factories and ran away. But it was the ordnance factories and their workers who worked day and night, even though these products are not their regular products. It may be medical mask, it may be coveralls, it may be sanitizer, it may be repairing of the ventilators, it may be medical tents. All these things are not our regular products. But then our workers, when the entire country was on lockdown, risking their life, risking their family members' life, they came to the factories and then they produced lakhs and lakhs of PPEs required for the frontline warriors. And it is taking advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic, the government took a decision to corporatize the ordnance factories. In 2020, this decision was taken. And then we were left with no option, so all our correspondence failed. All our attempts failed. So we took a decision to go for a indefinite strike. And government called for the Chief Labour Commissioner called for a conciliation. A conciliation settlement was reached, and it was a clear agreement in the conciliation in the presence of Chief Labour Commissioner. The government will not proceed with corporatization and the union should not proceed with the strike. Unions sincerely, honestly implemented the agreement. Unions have not gone for strike. But the government, throwing away the CLC conciliation settlement in the dustbin, went ahead by deciding all types of measures for implementing corporatization, and ultimately on the 16th of June 2021, the government has taken a decision to finish the ordnance factories by converting it into 7 non-viable corporations. Immediately after that, the trade unions, the federations of the defense civilian employees, we met and we took a decision for indefinite strike. It is an industrial dispute. because the service conditions of the 82,000 employees are going to be changed. They are recruited as central government employees, but now they will be forced to join the corporation. Their entire service benefits will be taken away. We know what is happening in BSNL. We know what is happening in SPMCIL. We know all these corporations, how they are going to be bulldozed by the government. Therefore, we rightly took a decision that we have to oppose this. But the government, instead of calling the federations, entering into a negotiated settlement, took a position to crush the strike right of the employees. We are all governed under Industrial Dispute Act 1947, where the provision of strike is available. We are recognized by the Ministry of Defence. In the recognition rules itself, there is a provision for going for the strike. Only certain procedures have to be followed, which we always follow. But the government in its wisdom thought, if the strike in the ordnance factories takes place, if the defence industry goes for a strike, the image of the government will come down. So to avoid that, to prevent that, to crush the democratic and constitutional right of the workers, they have promulgated the draconian Essential Defence Services Ordinance. And thereafter, that ordinance was brought in the parliament. And what are all the draconian provisions? The section 3 of the act says, it empowers the central government to prohibit strike in all essential defence services, not only ordnance factories. This is banning strike in the entire country, because any industry or any services for that matter, in one manner or other manner, in one way or other way, connected with the defence services. Railways are connected, postal is connected, banking service is connected. Which industry of our country is not connected with defence services? So it is not only that the strike is banned in defence industry alone. Under section 3, any industry which is doing services to the defence is banned. Now coming to section 4, the police is given full power. Allow the police force to removal of persons whose mere presence in any area is considered prejudicial. Removal means what? Arrest him and put him in the jail. This is section 4. And section 6, if any employee takes part in the strike, shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees, or with both. Now come to section 7. Any person who instigates or incites other person to take part in the strike shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 2 years, or with fine which may extend to 15,000 rupees, or with both. Section 8. Any person who knowingly expends or supplies any money, even if somebody donates 1 rupee to the trade union in support of the strike, he also will be imprisoned for 2 years, and he will be fined up to 15,000 rupees. Section 13. All offences punishable under this ordinance shall be cognizable and not bailable. Even the employee can be dismissed without even holding an inquiry, violating the constitutional protection of Article 311. So is it not draconian? This Janata Parliament has to discuss. The Janata Parliament has to debate on this. Is it not draconian? And I recollect the memory of what happened in 1981 in the same Indian Parliament, when the Essential Services Maintenance Act was placed before the Parliament by the then Indira Gandhi government. The Janata Parliament should know 16 to 17 hours discussion has taken place in the Parliament before passing that. Madam Gandhi was also having majority in the Parliament, but discussions took place on the Essential Service Maintenance Act of 1981 for more than 16 to 17 hours. Veteran parliamentarians, veteran trade union leaders like Indrajit Gupta, Madhu Dandavade, George Fernandez, P. Ramamurthy, and like these So many veteran MPs in the parliament have placed their views. They have effectively argued about the workers' rights. They have effectively argued how this Essential Service Maintenance Act is against the constitutional provisions. Somebody should go through the records of the parliament, about 300 to 400 pages. Discussions are there before the bill was passed in 1981 and even in 1985. But now when the Essential Defence Service Act is passed, it is only 7 minutes. And only Mr. Rajnath Singh, the minister, spoke. Others were not allowed to speak. This is how the Indian Parliament today is functioning, and which forced the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of India to publicly tell that nowadays bills are being passed in the Parliament without any deliberation, without any discussion. And what is going to happen? All these bills are going to be challenged in the court of law. Anticipating, the Honorable Chief Justice of India has publicly told this. And today we have challenged this Essential Defence Services Act in the High Court of Delhi because it is against the Constitution. AITUC and CITU Central Trade Unions have filed a complaint with the ILO. And that is why in the Lok Sabha, when the bill was passed, the periodicity of the act was indefinite. But the ILO complained, and explanation asked by ILO forced the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh in the Rajya Sabha to say that this act will be in force only for 1 year. But that was only to satisfy the ILO. After 1 year, who stops the government from extending the periodicity of the bill? Therefore, when the Janata Parliament is discussing about the various acts and bills passed in the Parliament without any discussion, when the House was not in order, it is appropriate that the Jan Sarokar has taken a very right step to have a discussion, to have a debate on the draconian Essential Defence Services Act passed in the Parliament. Before I conclude, I would only like to invite the attention of the Janata Parliament and the people of this country about the landmark judgment of National Textile Workers Union and others, in which the Honorable Supreme Court has categorically defined about the right of a worker. The Supreme Court says the workers are producers of wealth as much as capital. They supply labor without which capital would be impotent, and they are at the least equal partners with the capital in the enterprise. Our constitution has shown profound concern for the workers and given them a pride of place in the new socio-economic order envisaged in the preamble and directive principles of state policy. This has been completely demolished. This has been fully demolished by the present government and leading to a way where the workers are going to be slaves. So therefore, it is not the issue of defence civilian employees alone. It is not the issue of the workers of ordnance factories. It is a question of the entire working class of this country. And that is why the central trade unions, all the political parties other than the ruling party, they have all opposed to this draconian act. And through this Janata Parliament, I appeal to the people of the country, the workers of the country. There should be a democratic movement like the farmers' movement. There should be a countrywide movement against this draconian Essential Defence Service Act, which was passed in the Parliament when the House was not in order, without any discussion. It was a unilateral decision taken by the Parliament, and therefore this Janata Parliament very rightly selected this topic, and I am confident that the Janata Parliament will take a decision on this important issue. Thank you so much.